Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will start their terms as president and vice president by noon today. After attending a morning church service, they must take the oath of office, which happens during a swearing-in ceremony on the front west side of the U.S. Capitol. Even though there will be a smaller than usual crowd in person, the meat of the program remains the same. Lady Gaga is singing the national anthem, and there will be performances by Garth Brooks and Jennifer Lopez. Kamala Harris plans to take the oath of office using Bibles from Thurgood Marshall and one from a family friend, while Biden is using his family's Bible. Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor will swear in Harris, and Chief Justice John Roberts is doing the honor for Biden. President Biden will give his inaugural address, and then he and VP Harris will participate in what is called a pass in review. It's a military tradition that reflects the peaceful transfer of power to a new commander-in-chief. There will then be a wreath laying at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, a military escort to the White House, and the virtual parade across America. That virtual parade will be streamed online and include several speakers and musical performances, along with spotlighting heroes from communities across the country, including right here in the DMV.